Hello, welcome to Writer Wednesday. I'm so thrilled to get to chat with you all today. Um, so I hope you're having an awesome Wednesday, that you're overcoming that midweek slump, as it were. And yeah, so today we're going to be talking about something super awesome. This is a topic actually that once again was requested in my group for women entrepreneurs. We are going to be talking about values-based messaging and how you can use values-based messaging, how you can use your values as a person and as your brand, your author brand, and your business, and how you can bring those together in your messaging to be able to really connect with your readers and to have an online presence that really is going to resonate with the people who you want to connect with the most, i.e. potential readers, people who bought your book, and your tribe or your fan base as well. So we're going to be talking about that today. That's going to be super fun. So I'm so glad that you're able to join. As you're joining and popping on, I just want to invite you to say hi in the comments. So this is a two-way street. This is a conversation. So I love to hear from y'all. So yeah, say hi in the comments and let me know what you ate for breakfast. I actually went and walked with my good friend this morning at the zoo, which was super fun, even though it was a bajillion degrees and humid. And so I treated myself to a fabulous strawberry banana smoothie this morning. So that was super tasty. Kind of messy, but super tasty. So yeah, we're just gonna wait a couple minutes while folks are joining and kind of being able to hop on before we really dive into the meat of what we're talking about today. Margaret, hi Margaret. Hi Kitty, I had my usual everything: bagel, fruit, yogurt, and coffee. I want to come have breakfast at your house. Can I do that? Like every time you're like, oh, I had all this awesome stuff for breakfast. And usually for me, it's like a piece of cheese. And if I'm really fancy, like a muffin. I made bran muffins the other day. They were so good. Amy, howdy, I had coffee for breakfast. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, no surprise there. You're not like a big breakfast person. That's okay. Breakfast was the best food though, really. Margaret, come on over. Yes, yes. I totally want to come over to your house and eat breakfast, and we can make tea and or coffee. I would love to hear if y'all are a tea or coffee person. Which one? I'm kind of like mostly tea, but sometimes coffee, depending on what kind of day it's been. So kind of depends. So for those of you who are just joining, like I was saying, we're just going to wait a couple minutes as people are joining before we dive into the meat of what we're talking about today, which is values-based messaging, and which is going to be super cool. So as you're popping on, just feel free to say hi in the comments and let me know what you had for breakfast. Christina! Hi, Christina. So glad that you're here. Yeah, so like I was saying, pop in the comments what you had for breakfast, say hi. For those of you who are maybe new to doing my Facebook Lives, they're very conversational. I love to chat with you in the comments, and I do read all your comments. So I love to see you interacting there. Amy, I love breakfast for dinner, not for breakfast. Yeah, okay, so there is that. I do love doing like pancakes and bacon and that kind of stuff, like for supper. Makes for an easy, yummy supper. So, okay. That's fair. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. There's a few more people joining, so feel free to say hi in the comments. Excuse me. And we're going to be diving in. So in case you, Christina, green smoothie and coffee. Awesome. I had a smoothie this morning too. It was not green though. It was strawberry and banana, so it's probably less healthy than yours. Margaret, I love breakfast. On the weekends, I always make my girls pancakes / waffles, bacon, and fruit. Oh my gosh, girl. I am seriously going to come over to your house. That sounds amazing. I really want bacon now. I have a weakness for bacon. Anyway, okay, so like I was mentioning earlier, today we are going to be talking about values-based messaging and I'm so excited to talk to you about this because it's something that I feel like is a subtlety that's often kind of missed in author circles a lot, but is really important and really helpful to create messaging that really helps you connect with your audience. So that can be, I think, a really super helpful thing. So we're going to talk about that today. But before we do that, I just want to say, if you're not familiar with me and my Facebook Lives and stuff, my name is Katie Phillips. I'm a fiction editor and author coach. And I specialize in working with women authors, specifically writing spec fiction, and just helping them to equipping them to create breakthrough in their writing, craft, and career. So I love what I do. I love helping empower and equip women authors to set goals and achieve their dreams. So I love what I do, and I love that I get to be here with you this morning and share a bit about what I've learned. So that'll be awesome. And I can't wait just thinking about breakfast. It's all that bacon and carbs. So good. Okay, so before we kind of dive into messaging, so I'm going to talk about kind of what I mean by messaging and what that's all about. I'm going to share with you some of the main values of my brand, and then talk about how I came about those values and how I translate them into my brand and into my messaging, so that you can see how I did that and how you can apply that to your own brands. So, okay. Are you ready to go? Give me a like or a heart. Let me know if you're following me, if you need to go grab a notebook or something. We're going to be workshopping a little bit today, so be prepared for that. It's going to be pretty interactive. I'm going to be asking you to share about your work and your messaging and all of that, so that's going to be super cool. All right, I'm seeing those likes and hearts. Awesome. Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to clarify a little bit what I meant by messaging. Okay, this is kind of like a marketing sort of term. Basically, what I mean by that is any time that you are communicating with your fans in kind of like an official capacity. So this is copy that's on your website. This is posts on your Facebook page. This is, or any social media really. If you have ads, would be the copy that goes in your ads. This has to do mainly with copy, but also with your visuals and all those things that kind of come together to create your brand and help people who might be interested in reading and buying your books. Helps them get to a feel for you, helps them get to know you, and just kind of try and figure out what you're all about. Okay, so the point of messaging is really to help them get a feel for who you are and whether they want to get connected with you and start building that relationship with you. Okay, and as we've talked about before in some of my other videos, the whole focus of marketing is really creating that transition from connecting with your potential readers to the point where they buy your books, they love your stories. It's the kind of story that really resonates with them, and then they transition into being lifelong fans. Okay, so that's what we're going for, and this is why having messaging that really reflects you and your values is super important. Okay, does that make sense? This is something that can also transfer over and be applied, and should be applied to the actual content of your stories as well, because we want that to be a reflection of you and your stories. But for my examples today, I'm going to focus mainly on your online presence and what that looks like there. Okay, does that make sense? Give me a like, heart, pop in the comments. Let me know if you're following me so far, or if you have any questions about what I mean by messaging. So as we're talking today, we're all on the same page about what messaging means in the context of our conversation. Okay, by the way, I talk pretty fast and I try and include a lot of content in my Facebook Lives because I know all of our time is valuable. So if you need me to stop, slow down, answer questions, just pop in the comments and let me know. You will also have the opportunity to watch the replay, and I'll be checking back and looking at your comments just in case I miss any ones. Okay? So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so now that we kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to messaging, let's look at some of my personal values that I've incorporated into my brand. Okay? So I'm going to read them here, and then we'll talk about how I've incorporated them. So a big one for me is clarity, okay? So this looks like having vision. This looks like being super clear on what you want to accomplish, being clear in the steps that it's going to take to make that happen. So a practical strategic plan. And just being super clear on who you are and how you serve people, how you serve your readers, okay? So one of the ways that I like to incorporate this value of clarity is making sure that I give an opportunity for people to ask questions, making sure that I keep it simple, making sure that I don't just say this is what you need to do, but that I also walk you through these are the steps of how to do this, and this is the way that you apply this in your life. Okay? Does that make sense? So a big focus for me is clarity. When I do my editing and coaching and that kind of thing, that's always a big focus for me, is helping my author clients get clarity on their story, where it's going, what they need to change to make sure that that story flows in a clear way. Okay? So that's value number one, is clarity. Value number two is courage. Okay? So I've had a lot of experiences in my life that have resulted in really awesome growth, that have totally come out of me having to take those steps of courage, even when I'm feeling afraid, or I'm afraid of failure, or if I feel like I'm not adequate, or whatever that looks like. Courage is such an important part of the author process, and not waiting until you feel brave, but being willing to step out and be uncomfortable and push through that fear in order to really be able to see the growth and the accomplishments that you're wanting to see in your writing craft and in your business. Okay? So a big way that I incorporate that is asking questions that are challenging. So for example, in my posts in my group, we have something called Truth Tuesday. And one of the things I love to do with that is challenging the members of the women in my group to ask themselves what fears are holding them back, and what steps of courage do they need to take in order to see more growth happen. Okay? So what steps of courage they need to take in order to see that growth happen. I talk a lot about courage. I talk a lot about fears, and how those hold us back from really seeing the momentum and growth that we want to see. So it's really, this one is huge for me, and it's all over my Facebook posts. It's in my Instagram posts. I talk about it a lot when I do my Facebook Lives, because fear is such a big obstacle for a lot of authors. It's just such an integral part of the process. And so courage is absolutely essential in the life of an author if you're really wanting to see growth and success. Can I get an amen? Okay. Raise your hand in the comments if you have ever felt afraid to show your work to someone, to share about your book, to talk to someone about your book, to go to a writer's conference, to do a Facebook Live, to start your own reader group, okay? These are all steps that can feel super, super scary. Yeah, Amy, raising hand. Yeah. So all of these things, there's so many aspects of the author journey that induce a lot of fear. And so this is a really important part of this process. Margaret, all the time. Yeah. So fears are a huge obstacle and a very consistent part of the author journey. And so I knew, because I minister and work with women authors, I knew that this was something that was going to be really important for me to touch on and that would really resonate with my audience. Kaylin, yes, absolutely. Fears can be such a big thing holding back, okay? So courage is an example of one of my values that I really try and incorporate across my online presence and in every aspect of my posts and everything that has to do with my conversations with my clients, because it is a big factor and it's something that we need to address. But we can have courage and step out and make that growth happen as we push through our fears and deal with that. So that's a big one there. Okay, so another value is adventure. And this one, it comes across a little bit more subtly, but I love adventure stories. I love going on adventures myself. I love exploring new places. Some of you know that I lived overseas for almost 3 years. I lived in England, and I traveled extensively with a nonprofit group making documentaries and writing stories and taking photos and stuff. And so it was this amazing opportunity, always an adventure, to go to different places, experience different places and cultures and countries, meet lots of different people, have adventures. Okay, so this theme of adventure, kind of like courage, is just sort of underlying in all of my posts. But I love this idea of us being on kind of this author journey together and going on adventures to these story worlds and to these different places where we learn and we grow. Okay, so you'll see a lot of the value of adventure in the way that I talk about challenges, in the way that I share about my story worlds, in the books that I like and recommend. In a lot of books that I edit, they're usually spec fiction with a lot of adventure elements. And I just love this feeling of exploration and of nature and exploring our world. Okay, does that make sense? If you have noticed this kind of underlying theme, if you're familiar with my posts and all of that, give me a heart, like, mention in the comments. I've been to over 25 different countries, and I have a bunch more on my list. Okay, so I love travel, and when I can't travel physically, I love getting to travel to new and exciting worlds through fiction. So this is a big passion of mine, and I absolutely love this aspect of my author brand, and it's a big part of who I am as a person. Okay, so creativity is another big value for me, and obviously part of this is the writing process, but I also love the creative artistic pursuits in a lot of different areas, whether that's drawing, painting, music. One of my clients, Becky Gaines, she composes music to go along with her work in progress books, which is absolutely amazing. So I love music. I listen to soundtracks all the time where I work. So a lot of times you'll hear me or see me posting about the music that I'm listening to or sharing art that's inspiring me. Okay, so this idea of being creative is partly about the artistic side. So all of those sort of creative pursuits that work together. But a big part of it as well is thinking outside of the box. Okay, asking that question of, can we do this better? How can we do this differently? How can we do this in a way that we've not done before? How can we tell a story that's unique and unusual? I love stories that are cross-genre or that combine and use cultures that aren't commonly used or commonly combined. So for example, in my space opera fantasy that I'm writing right now, I have one of the primary cultures is based on a blend of basically old school Japanese and then Polynesian. So I combined those. And then the other one has a very Moroccan, Turkish, Arabic kind of vibe. So I love getting to use those kind of unique elements and that out of the box thinking to come up with things that are unique and we haven't seen or done before. Okay, does that make sense? I mean, like or heart, that makes sense. So part of using your values in your messaging is showing your process of thinking outside of the box, but it's also I'm encouraging others to share, to be inspired, to think differently than other people, and to push yourself not just to copy other people, but to come up with your own new, unique to you content. Okay? Does that make sense? Do we have any questions so far about what I've covered? If you have questions, pop them in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking, what's going on there. Okay? All right. Authenticity. Okay? This is a value of mine that really has come out of my journey a lot, and me learning to become more and more comfortable in my own skin, more and more comfortable in who God made me to be and how I'm kind of uniquely put together. And so this is a value that's super important to me, as many of you know. And it's something that I really work hard to have it come across through my messaging. Okay, so one of the ways that I do this is when I'm sharing stories, I intentionally share vulnerably about both the good and the bad. Okay, so I want to create an attitude of a positive attitude, an attitude of courage and growth in my Facebook community and in my posts. But I also don't want to sugarcoat that the entrepreneur journey is very difficult sometimes. And like we talked about earlier with all those fears, sometimes that process of dealing with those fears can be really challenging and really difficult. Okay, so part of being authentic to me is being willing to share the fears and the struggles that I'm going through to encourage you on your journey, to share stories in the past about things that I've experienced that have taught me something. It's about just really sharing, I guess is what it comes down to, is being willing to be open, being willing to let my true, slightly nerdy self shine through with random nerd movie and Marvel references, being willing to do a Facebook Live when I'm just coming from working out and I'm all like sweaty and icky and whatever. Okay, so this is how my value of authenticity really comes through. Okay, another way in the visuals that I like to communicate this is I like to have a very natural feel. Okay, so in my imagery, I like to use nature, I like to use wood, I like to use natural textiles. I have this very strong like boho streak, and for me, that's very much a part of me showing that authenticity because it's genuine, it's real, and it's not manufactured. Okay? Because I know a huge part of that trust factor with people getting to know me is me being able to be real and vulnerable and genuine in all of my interactions, in what I say and in the way that I present myself. Okay? So authenticity is a big thing for me. Okay? I just want to give you a little bit of a heads up. In just a second, I'm going to ask you to share your top 4 values. Okay, and then we're going to talk about that and how to incorporate that into your brand. Okay, so be thinking, be making notes, all of that kind of thing. Do what you got to do. but be thinking about what are some key values for you and your brand. Okay? And the last one here that I want to touch on is community or connection. Okay? So one of the things that I'm super passionate about is creating community and networking, creating these friendships and these connections, both with readers and with, in my case, authors, so that we can encourage and help each other on what can be at times kind of a difficult journey. Okay, so that community is super important. That's a big reason why I created my Facebook group community, where I have daily posts. I have the option for people to ask questions. People can ask for help from other people in the group, or tag me if they specifically want me to answer a question. They can share ideas, get feedback, all this kind of thing. And I absolutely love that. And I love how supportive that community is, because I do believe it's such an important part of our author journey. Okay? If you are part of the author group already, I would love for you to pop in the comments and tell me a way that it has encouraged you in the last month, or just something that you've gotten out of being part of the group and what that community is like. Okay? I'm actually going to go ahead and pop in the comments here and include a link to that community, which is fabulous. But yeah, while I'm doing this, I would love for you to pop in the comments and let me know something that's been a positive experience with your interactions in my Facebook group community over the last few months. So that would be fabulous. Okay, so the link is there in the comments. If you would like to join, those of you watching the replay, you can click on that link and join as well. And that's just a fabulous opportunity there. Amy, it's just a lot of fun to connect with people who care about the same things I do. Yeah, exactly. And that's a big part of it is I love getting to help people who have similar values and similar passions and are kind of on the same journey, although usually at different sort of places in that journey, come together where they can encourage each other. Okay, so even when it comes to my marketing and the way that I teach marketing, it's all about making connections with your reader that are genuine and authentic. Okay, so you kind of see how all those values sort of begin to come together and coalesce to form a brand. Okay, and this is just the way that you want people to think about you and think about your brand, because this gives them connection points with you. Okay? All right. So those are some of the key values that I use in my brand to resonate with my audience, which in this case are women authorpreneurs. Okay, so I would like you to pop in the comments and share what are your top three. We'll go with three, makes it easier. What are your top three values? Okay, this can be as a person, because your brand and your marketing and your stories all flow out of who you are as a person. So post in the comments what your top three values are, and then we're going to talk about how you can incorporate that into your brand. Margaret, she's jumping back to the discussion about the Facebook group. I love that it's a community of writers who want to make this a business just like I do. It's also a place where we can get real about ourselves. See, okay, I just want to point that out, where we can get real. That's the authenticity coming through. Where we get real about ourselves and our writing. I find that a lot of writers group just focus on craft and nothing else. Okay, yeah, so my Facebook group is unique in that we talk about craft, but we also look at the business side of things. How do you market? How do you connect with readers? How do you set up an LLC? How do you do your taxes? All of these different things that go into being an authorpreneur and being someone who wants to write long term, or have that be a big focus to profit from your passion, as it were. Okay, so that's a big focus on what we talk about. there. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys just a few minutes to go ahead and post in the comments what you feel like your top 3 values are. Okay, what are the things that are important to you? This could be themes that you see coming across in your books. One that I didn't mention, well, I kind of did with the community thing. Friendship is a really important value to me. This comes up in all of my books. I love getting to show close friendships and friendships between a lot of different people. So that's something that comes up a lot, and it's something that's really important to me as a person, because my friends are a huge part of my life. I consistently and regularly spend time with some friends of mine who I've known for over 20 years. No joke. Several of them, we hang out on a consistent basis. We talk frequently. So friendships, and especially lifelong friendships and long-term friendships, are super important to me. Maybe one of your values is diversity. Okay, so if diversity is something that you're super passionate about, then you want to think about, how can I display this in my conversations with my readers and in my online presence? Okay, whether that's a diversity in maybe guest posts, whether that's sharing about different cultures, maybe that's sharing about a variety of people, or having characters in your books who are very diverse and different from each other, or have diverse challenges. Okay, so that could be something. So there's a lot of different options for what your values are going to be and how they're going to translate into your brand and what that looks like for you. Okay, Amy, it's hard to narrow it down. Yeah. By the way, these don't have to be like your top 3 at the end, just the top 3 that come to mind. It's hard to think of them. I know they all just like vanish out of your head. But probably facing fears, being empowered, doing extraordinary things. Yeah, okay, so we're talking about facing fears. That's like this idea of courage. So that's a similar one there. Being empowered, doing extraordinary things. I've worked with Amy on several books and different things, so I know a little bit more about her brand. But one of the things that is a really strong theme or value there is being able to empower people to do things that they didn't think that they would otherwise be able to do. So it's kind of this feel of like your everyday heroes. Margaret, positivity, adventure, diversity, fun. Okay, I love that. So Margaret, some of the ways that you could carry over these values into your branding, obviously positivity, that's having a positive tone when you're writing. Okay, so even when you're writing about hard things, to share the positive side of that, to share something that you've learned through that experience, that's going to be important for you. Adventure, I love that too. Again, I kind of talked about adventure a little bit, but ways that you can show that is to talk about your own adventures, to talk about your characters' adventures, to have this spirit of let's go experience something new. Maybe you tried a new food, or you tried a new ethnic restaurant. Maybe that's something that you could post about to kind of share that spirit of adventure with other people. Diversity, I knew that was going to be a big one for you. So that's going to be important, sharing about your experiences, sharing about the variety of cultures that you're writing. I'm so excited for your fantasy series that you're working on, which has super diverse cultures and is going to be amazing. And fun. So something, I just want to get a little bit more specific on that with that feeling of fun, okay? Something that's going to be important, especially with like this feeling of positivity and fun, is in your writing to aim for a bit more informal tone. Okay, so in some author brands, it works well to have kind of a mysterious feeling or to be more formal or whatever. But for you, because you're really wanting to communicate that feel of positive, fun adventures, okay, I really want to encourage you to be more informal and more conversational in your Facebook posts, in your newsletters, in your online presence, okay? So to talk to your audience, not as if you were writing an ad or something like that, but in a very conversational way that follows the funny tangents, that makes funny quips, that tells funny stories about your everyday life that relate to your writing journey. Okay, does that make sense, Margaret? Let me know. Okay, Kaylin, connection, courage, and possibilities. Ooh, I like that. Okay, so connection is a big value for you. So something that's going to be important for you is to really think about how you can encourage and nurture relationships both with your readers and between your readers. Okay, so maybe this looks like having a reader group or book club, facilitating that. Another thing with this is when you're posting, ask open-ended questions. Okay, so it's not just a one-way conversation, and this is just a good practice anyway, but especially when you're wanting to foster connection, including a lot of posts that allow for and invite reader engagement in some way. Okay, maybe at the back of your books you want to include discussion questions. Maybe you do a book club and then once a month you all get together and have like a Facebook party and discuss it. I don't know, but those are things to think about when it comes to how do you promote this value of connection on your online presence. Okay, does that make sense? Courage, we talked about that. That's a big one. Possibilities, I love that. Okay, so this one is a little bit trickier to communicate in a direct way. So you're gonna have to be a little bit more subtle with this idea of possibilities. So I would suggest taking it from a perspective of dreams, okay? So encouraging people to share, like, what's your dream vacation? What is something that you would love to do if you had unlimited resources? What's something that a book that you've always wanted to read? Or what's a book that you've always wanted to write? Okay? So I think you're going to have to get a little bit creative with this, but I think that this could be really cool to think about and process. What does it look like to communicate this feeling, because that's how we communicate those values, is through those feelings of possibility, of there's always, like as Pocahontas says, there's just a round river bend. Okay, so create this feeling of new possibilities, new adventure. There's always something new and exciting waiting just around the corner. Okay, so that's going to be a fun and exciting one for you there. Okay, do you all have questions about anything that I've talked about today, or specifically how to apply your values to your online presence? Okay, go ahead and pop those in the comments. Give me a like heart if that's making sense to you. For those of you who are watching the replay, go ahead, and I really encourage you to go ahead and pop in the comments and post your top 3 values. I will be checking back and looking at this over the next few days. So even if you're watching the replay, I'll still be popping back and I can touch on those for you as well. Okay? Awesome. I'm so glad that's proving helpful for you. Kaylin says, great ideas. Margaret says, that makes total sense. Awesome. This is something that I've found to be, using values-based messaging is something that I've found to be really incredibly freeing for me. And it's not something I really dug into until I started doing the Roadmap to Freedom business course that I've talked about with some of you before. And it really encouraged me to dig into my audience, my niche, my messaging, and just how I saw myself, just to get super clear on who I am, how I serve my audience, how I want people to think about me, how I want people to feel when they interact with me. Okay? So those are all things that I encourage you to be thinking about. This is something that we're going to really be digging into more in depth in my Passion to Profit book marketing course. Okay, so some of you probably have heard me talk about it before. This is an author's marketing guide to selling your books without selling your soul. And I'm so thrilled to be able to bring that to you this fall. So there'll be more details about that in the group, or I'll post a link here as soon as the live is done, and you can make sure you get on my email list so you can receive updates about that. But this is just one small part of what we're going to talk about in that book marketing course when it comes to how you create a business and a lifestyle and a brand that fits with your goals, fits with who you are as a person, so it comes across very genuine and natural, and it fits with the stories that you have to tell so that you can really make those lifelong connections with your readers. Okay, so you won't want to miss out on that. I'll be posting the link for updates in the comments there. So we're going to definitely be digging more in depth into that this fall with that book marketing course. Okay? All right, well, I'm going to run away, but if you have more comments or questions, feel free to post those in the comments, and I'll be checking back and I'm doing that with you. But I hope you all have a super fabulous day. Thank you for joining today. It was so fun to chat with you. So you have a great rest of your day. Bye.